Today, Sylvie and I are back in the Cambridgeshire Fens and we're starting our walk in the village of Swaffham Prior. This village is situated about 8 miles northeast of Cambridge. Swaffham Prior is unusual in that it has 2 churches beside each other in the same churchyard. The reason for this is a subject of speculation, but it's believed that the churches were both built to serve 2 different parishes. The first church we're taking a look at is St Mary's, which originally dates from the 10th century. After looking around the first church, we popped next door to have a look at its neighbour. This church dates from around the 11th century and it's named St Cyriac's and St Julitas. Both churches amalgamated in 1667. And this church became redundant and it now lays empty. Well, after visiting the churches, we set off down the village high street. Pretty soon we leave Swaffham Prior and head towards the next village. We walk for about 1 mile until we reach the next village, which coincidentally is called Reach. No sooner as we entered the village, Sylvie spots the village pub, named Dyke's End. owing to the fact that the village sits at one end of a 7-mile earthwork known as Devil's Dyke.
Cheers.
Well, after a refreshing drink, we continue on our way. And as we walk through the village, we pass an old house with an amazing display of fragrant wisteria.
Smells lovely.
Yeah, I bet it does. Wow. As we come to the northern end of the village, we have to cross a bridge over a canal known as the Reach Lode. And it's hard to believe that this area was once a port originating in the Roman period. Once we're over the bridge, we turn right and walk along this trackway for a short distance before we take a footpath that will run alongside the Reach Lode. And according to my map, we've got a good 4.5 to 5 mile walk along here to our next destination. After about 4 miles, we come to a point where the Reach Lode merges with the Burwell Lode, and our next destination isn't far ahead. We finally reached the tiny village of Upware, which is noted for its boat lift, which we stopped to look at as we entered the village. This boat lift is a purely mechanical lock, whereas on most canals the locks are manually operated. We then head off to visit the village's other attraction, which is a pub with the strangest of names. I haven't told Sylvie what the pub's called, as I wanted her to see it for herself. How's that for the name of the pub?
Yeah. Sounds like our type of pub.
5 miles from anywhere, no hurry in. Oh, that is the weirdest name I've ever seen for a pub. Oh, need a drink after that.
Yeah, it's nice, man.
Right, let's go. This very popular pub is one of the nicest we've ever visited, beautifully situated right beside the River Cam.
Cheers.
After our stop here, we set off on our walk back, which we know from the pub's name is a good 5 miles. As we leave Upware, we were lucky enough to see the boat lift in action.
Cheating, isn't it? It's all press buttons. No manual stuff at all around this part of the world.
No,
Go on a canal, it's all grunt, isn't it? Muscle work.
that's right.
Thank you very much. Most kind. Thank you very much indeed.
We're taking a different route back, which involves a short walk along the lane before taking a footpath. This footpath takes us past areas of marshland and small lakes, many of which were drying out due to the lack of rain. Eventually we come to a place called Tiptree Marina, which is where we now take the lane back to Swaffham Prior. This part of the walk takes us down one of the longest and straightest lanes we've ever walked along. Fortunately, there was very little traffic other than the odd farm vehicle. This lane seemed to go on forever. Even though it was now 6 p.m, we still had a few miles to go. Many of the fields along this route are being prepared for potatoes, which are grown in abundance in this area. We eventually saw Swaffham Prior's windmill in the distance, but we still had a good mile to go. We finally made it back to Swaffham Prior by 7 p.m. Because it was late, we then drove to the neighbouring village of Burwell to get something to eat. This walk has lasted 6.5 hours and covered 11 miles. Well deserved fish and chips. And crikey, you got a lot there, Sylv.
I know.
Oh, blimey.